Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I just wanted to create a brief presentation of my work in progress. This is a worker bee that I've been working on for several weekends, and I'm proud to show that it's coming along. It's coming along nicely and nearly finished. Right now it's at almost 11 million tries, and I'll explain why later. This item is meant to be a hyper-detailed, anatomically correct representation of a honey worker bee. As you can see, there's quite a lot of layers of grooming on this thing, and this is actually my first project grooming grooming particles. As you can see on the torso here, we've got 6 layers of particles, and I'm sure there's going to be more. It goes down from there. So I've got 5, just 1 on the head for now, 3 on the connecting portion. I've got to get my anatomical words correct with bees. And quite a few things on this thing. Took a while to model actually. So here, as you can see, this one's not modified yet. So I created a plane and I used the shrink wrap modifier actually over one major piece that represented the complete large bodied object, and wrapped around that. And then I used a mirror modifier and a solidify modifier to get it thickness, and then I subdivided it so that it was smoother. Then I add more modifiers to remesh, so on and so forth. And once it's voxel remeshed, I can add this particle system to it to give it hair. Another interesting item on this thing is the veins in the wing, which right now are still using a stack of modifiers. So I created one single plane and went into edit mode and extruded it along a reference photo, which was anatomically correct to a bee. Created a flat outline of the whole thing, which took, I don't know, a full hour. And then solidify modifier, subdivision modifier, mirrored it across the body, and then remeshed it with voxels because I needed to give it a more random natural look. So it's kind of disappearing into the wing. I'm going to fix this later, but this is about as low as I can go with the voxel remesh, because in the beginning of making this, I started at the correct scale. So this bee is like millimeters long, but that really messes up the scale of the overall blender system. So in hindsight, I would actually start this bee at a larger scale and then scale it down at the end when everything is in place, all the modifiers are applied. It's better to work at a larger size, that's what I'm saying. So the basic way I went about creating this bee is by creating large shapes first. I would remesh and then sculpt by just using elastic deform, and I got most of the body shapes pretty quickly, like in less than an hour. And then I just went around to each shape and isolated them like this. You can just hit Shift H. And then I would sculpt and add more pieces. As you can see, I need to Boolean these eyes out so that the eye on top works with it. So if I isolate... What am I doing? Okay, I put it into some sort of ghost mode. Shit. There we go. So this item is nearly completed. And as you can see on the back here, all these plates need to be cleaned up as they're overlapping it in a slightly weird way, but I'll get that cleaned up. And then just yesterday I was figuring out the look of the pollen, which is a sculpted clump with 3 displacement modifiers at different sizes to represent the bound, compacted, and partially smoothed pollen. I looked at quite a few reference photos. For that I use PureRef actually, an amazing tool. And as you can see, these are some raw, like freshly sculpted items. So that's all stretched out. It hasn't been remeshed yet. I just used the elastic deform and Dyn Topo to give myself enough leeway to just stretch it out to that shape, and then that matched the anatomical reference guide, so I was good to go. I just left it as is. I'm going to come by again and treat it like this hind leg, which was fully remeshed. The mirror across was applied. Then I added a different displacement modifier texture to each one of these pieces. And as you can see, it looks good even up close. I might try ZBrush next time and use their nano mesh, but I really like working purely in Blender for a bunch of reasons. I really like building shaders in Blender, actually. So let's just take a look at this in the look dev mode. So the particles look like crap in look dev. You can see all the striations. You can see how overtly thin each strand is. It's not represented properly, but it's good enough to do some look exploration. There's too much transmission in the pollen right now, but as you can see by this displacement modifier, it looks pretty nice. So let's see if I can turn on cycles and see how quick it goes. It's funny, I have a, oh, I gotta turn on the lights. It's funny, I've been using this on my PC. I've been running this Bee model on my PC, and the PC is quite fast. Like, it's got a Core i9, modern Core i9. It's got 32 gigs of RAM and a GTX 1060 with 6 gigs of RAM, so like the beefier 1060. And I swear to God, the performance is only slightly faster on the PC. Like, I've been kind of doing look dev with cycles on the PC because I thought it would like render the frames faster, but that isn't the case. It seems to run just as well on this base model Mac Mini, so I'm just totally blown away by that. And as you can see, the light is quite striking now as it passes through this fuzz. It's kind of hard to envision completely, but you get the gist of this by looking at it, don't you? And all of the body parts, let's just pull up the shader actually. I don't really usually use these modes, but so we're back in look dev mode. And as you can see, I've just created a basic carapace material by using the UV, although it's not unwrapped. It still works though. Then I throw a color ramp in, throw it into the base color, and then I give it a very high transmission value because I believe that from looking at references, the carapace does transmit light through in a kind of like subsurface kind of way. I don't like using subsurface because it makes everything look like creamy and it slows down rendering a lot. But by using high transmission value, it achieves a similar result. And we can take a look at, like in the particle system, I created a different color for each particle, and then I used color ramp, randomize, and Musgrave textures to further randomize and clump the materials. I'm not quite fully well versed with working with these particle systems and grooming yet, but so far so good. Like, I'm surprised with these results. I got pretty good, pretty realistic results first time around. The particles kind of misbehave on shapes with very thin, with vertices that are close together. So like on these pieces, if I go Shift H and isolate it, you'll see that I've got a lot more fur on the inside, and I've messed around with like recalculating the outside normals, the inside normals. I've regrown the particles several times. I've groomed it in a bunch of different ways, and I just seem to get this weird result when the surfaces are so close together. As you can see, the camera's clipping through the two surfaces, and you can see the hairs wanting to grow inwards no matter what. So I think I might redo this thorax, I believe, so that it has far more thickness, far more substantial thickness, so that I can get the grooming system right. My original intent with that was creating thin pieces so that I could animate this back section, because when I've looked at bees up close and in person, their hind end is like constantly pulsating and moving in and out, and there's quite a lot of organs in there. So I think that it's constantly active, constantly moving, constantly writhing, as it were. So I thought that these plates would interact nicely if they were thin. But as we do, we like learn from all of our projects, and I've learned quite a lot from this project. So I hoped you liked this presentation. I just wanted to give more insight into what I like working on, what I do as a profession. This is a personal project for an animation and to expand my skills in Blender, but I do work a lot in Blender. So if you like this, just give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and stay tuned for more, because I'm going to be creating a lot of Blender and Rhino and design content, and I really like doing this kind of stuff. So I'll talk to you later. Bye.